The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet. And by BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Our listeners get 10% off your first month. So give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/FURLONG.
Welcome to the Final Furlong podcast. Great to have your company as we look back on a brilliant but also very tough weekend's racing in the company of one of the best from Sky Sports Racing, a man who dropped some truth bombs on the Final Furlong podcast back in January. All of his predictions coming true, which means he's a nightmare for the senior executives of British racing. It is the return of Josh Apiafi. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
I'm looking forward to being on it. Yes, it's been an interesting period, hasn't it, since we spoke. I think we were on in January. We sort of did a few predictions of what was one going on and what is currently going on, or perhaps not going on. And yes, still lots of vacancies within our sport. Few announcements, not many surprises, but equally, I'm sure we'll get into that a bit later on after, yes, the weekend at Cheltenham, which produced some amazing performances and some absolute gut-wrenching circumstances, as we saw on Sunday.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the racing first of all and break that down, but it is remarkable. I would highly recommend you going back and listening to what Josh had to say back in January. It is frightening how accurate he was, and I'm not saying this in a good way. Because he was warning, you have to do this. This needs to be done. I don't think this is going to work because it's all been done very haphazardly and at the last second. Gee, I wonder why Premier Racing has been such a complete and utter disaster. He laid it all out for us. It's a bit like watching that Yuri Bezmenov interview from the 1980s where he talks about how they're going to try and undermine Western democracy. And then it turns out, oh my God, everything the man is saying is coming true. Okay, let's talk about the racing first of all, shall we? We'll begin with Jonbon's return in the Shloer Chase. He is the highest rated 2-mile chaser in training, at least in the United Kingdom. He's the highest rated 2-mile chaser in the business, really, despite the fact that he missed the champion chase. And when you're watching him at the weekend, I can understand why some people might say, underwhelmed by that, he might be vulnerable. But actually, Josh, I'd like to remind everybody of what Katie Young was saying on this show this time last year. She thought it was a brilliant performance from him in the Shloer, but he would be vulnerable later in the season because it was too big a performance. And I think that's what Nicky Henderson learned from, and Nico. They didn't want him to blow his opposition away because they want him to win the Tingle Creek and, most importantly, the champion chase. So what did you make of his return?
I am a massive, massive Jonbon fan, and I always have been. What did I make of his return? I thought it was uber impressive. I think it's that difficult one. He's such a lovely big horse, and you always hear these comments of, oh, that was his Gold Cup. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to be, and I think that's what we've seen at the start of this season. Even the 13-time champion trainer Paul Nicholls was still working out whether his horses were up. Well, we all worked it out pretty quickly that they needed an extra 2 weeks. And every horse is, of course, different as well. So what did I make of Jonbon, going back to the original question you asked me? Hugely impressive, but I think impressive by the team at Henderson's as well, that they've got him correct to win a Shloer and not 110% fit, which they're going to you need to leave something to play with these bigger horses as they progress through the season. I think he bounces off that ground. I think it was lovely to see. Jump well, and Nico had to get in and get serious, and he stuck his head down, and he was fit enough to do the job with a bit to play with.
Yeah, he just had a massive class edge over everything. He was going to win as long as he gets round. He didn't get round on trials day, and I think they're very anxious to try and not repeat anything like that. He will win the Tingle Creek. I don't doubt that for a second. Unless El Fabiolo, or if Quilixius comes over and it turns out he is as good as I think he is, which I think the 33-1 about him is wild, but we can talk more about that in a second.
But he's won a Tingle Creek on heavy ground. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's versatile ground-wise. He's versatile right or left-handed. He's the top-rated horse in the 2-miler in the country. So what's not to like, as they say?
If he strides to success and like crushes them, swaggers to victory by 10 lengths, like, yeah, that's great, and it's a visually impressive performance. But it would have taken an awful lot out of him, and would leave him vulnerable in the Tingle Creek. And he got lucky to win that race last year. Like, if Edward Stone had been a little bit more forward, or if one of the young Irish horses had come over, he could have been in trouble there. And I think that's what they were trying to do. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe that's as good as he is, and maybe he will be vulnerable, but I think he's a serious player. And just with a view to the Cheltenham Festival, because everything's about the festival, Josh, as you know, there is a narrative that he's not quite as good. And I should say, Aidan Coleman was on this show last week, and I really enjoy getting Aidan's insight on the show. He's a brilliant pundit and was obviously a wonderful jockey. He has said on numerous occasions, including on this show, that he doesn't think he's quite as good at Cheltenham as he is elsewhere. However, his defeats there came last season when he's made a horrendous mistake and somehow almost still won the race, which was just extraordinary. And he again makes a mistake at the last. And to Constitution Hill in the Supreme Novice Hurdle, which good luck trying to beat that horse if he's unsung, and to El Fabiolo in the Arco. Are we not just overreaching that, he doesn't act quite as well at Cheltenham? He's been beaten by two superstars there.
Absolutely. And where else are you going to go, And if they were on form, and there were a couple of excuses as well there, not that you were going to beat Constitution Hill, I don't think, but equally, you go and make a Horlicks. And they say that you can't miss a fence in an Arkle or in a Queen Mother Champion Chase. You miss a fence, if you manage to win by missing and still miss a fence, well, you are an absolute worldly superstar. And I remember the person that told me that was Sir Anthony McCoy. En route, I was in the car with him. This is way back, as people know. My relationship with AP has been slightly torn apart over the years, but this was way back in. He was riding Well Chief in the Arkle. There you go, and he said, if he misses one, and this horse was an absolute beast over a fence, he said, but if you miss one, you're gone. And basically, if you watch the Well Chief Arkle again, it's the most unbelievable fast Arkle you've ever seen, because that horse just used to eat fences. So, so that's where it sort of came from. And Jonbon, like I say, as we know, walks through one, and you just can't afford to do it in a 2-mile race.
One for the YouTube comment section. Well Chief's Arkle. I'm gonna guess 2004. If I was wrong, tell us what year it was in the YouTube comment section, and then if I'm right, then great, fantastic. And also, if you,
I'm trying to figure out, like, going back to Josh personal years, the first date with my wife, I was at Racing Post Chase Day at Kempton, because I obviously take.
Your first date was at the races. She's a keeper, clearly.
And Well Chief won the juvenile hurdle, and that was in 2003. So there you go. That was the juvenile hurdle. I don't know what he was 5 when he ran in the. If that was the juvenile hurdle
in 2003, then it was 2000. In 2002, then it was 2003. Then it was 2004 when he won the Arkle. So I must be right. Now, if it turns out that you've got that wrong, and you're wrong about the first time you went on a date with your wife, you're going to get destroyed in the YouTube comment section and on X. And I've just celebrated being right. So if I'm wrong, I'm going to get mocked mercilessly, and I can't really complain about that either.
The reason why I know I'm right is we were guests of the Racing Post. There was a tipping competition, and all I was caring about was chatting up this very beautiful lady that was coming on a first date with me. And I was sat on a table. On this table, randomly, was Phil the Power Taylor and his wife, and a few other betting executives, because I was at Betfair at the time. And a tipping competition came around, and I'm sort of giving it all the crap chat-up lines. And I said, and there were lots of prizes, and I said to Abby, I said, if I win anything, you come with me, and if you win anything, I'll go with you. And there was like dinner at Le Manoir and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, brilliant, lovely little sort of prizes for two. To cut a long story short, he had to pick, there was 3 races, and I won all 3.
How did you rig those competitions? Was that a Blue Peter situation?
Lalondier and one for Richard Phillips won the race.
I loved her. What a horse.
And I was screaming this thing home in front of far too, upper class of racing. There's young little upstart Josh at Betfair. And yeah, it ends up winning. And first prize was first class flights to the Singapore Gold Cup weekend. Oh, like, how spoiled is that? And that was it. And then she started going out with me, and then luckily, I think my mum even asked her, she said, I know you're going to dump him when you come home from the holiday, but it's really nice to meet you.
Oh, thanks, anyway, Mrs. Apiafi. That's real confidence.
I digressed from, I don't know how we got from Jonbon to basically going to Singapore, but so there you go. That is the story of the 2000. Lalonde and Richie Phillips I owe a lot to, although it's probably the most expensive free holiday I've ever had.
Well, then it was definitely the 2004 Arkle, because Lalonde definitely won the 2003 Racing Post Chase. I remember that horse vividly, and she won the Cathcart at the Cheltenham Festival that year as well.
You got it.
She was amazing, a wonderful, wonderful mare. I love that horse. Right, so this is how we do it, folks. This is how we secure the love of our lives. If you've met a beautiful woman, all you have to do is persuade her to come racing with you, then sit on a table with Phil the Power Taylor, win some elaborate competition that is 5-star exclusive flights to a beautiful exotic destination, and she can't dump you then.
And then it all went downhill from there. There we are, still beautifully together.
Oh, man, that's some story. Okay, anyway, so Jonbon is going to be a serious player in the 2-mile division. If you haven't hit the like button on YouTube, you've tuned in to hear what our thoughts are on the races, and you're finding out about elaborate competitions and may or may not have been fixed that's taking place. Hit the like button, please, on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on the podcast app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, tune in. Know that means you're one of the old school listeners to this show, and we value you so much because you've been with us for a very long time. That's where our hardcore audience is. So thank you for listening to the show, and we really appreciate it. Hopefully you're enjoying the content, and hopefully you're enjoying the winners that we're putting up as well. Founder 50 got the job done in the Fortria Chase at Navan. He beats a pretty loaded field. Captain Guinness had won 2 of these runnings. Banbridge was having his seasonal debut as well. He was a major disappointment, but he's 2 from 2 for the season now. Founder 50 drops back to 2 miles successfully. He's won twice in Grade 1 Novice Company at this distance, at Aintree and at the Leopardstown Christmas meeting. And in between those wins, he was second in 2 Arkles. Is he a big player in the 2-mile chase division this season, though, Josh, or do you think he'll be better going further?
Good, both. If I can answer the question like that, I think he looks like it's lovely because he runs through the line. So is he going to stay further? Yes, because he runs through the line. But I love a 2-miler that does do that. That wants further. You need a 2.5. We talk about it all the time. You need a 2.5 miler to win a 2-mile championship chase, because you can't be coming up that running at Cheltenham age cannot be running out. You've got to be going through it. So I actually hope they keep him. They stay at 2. That would be my hope. But who knows? Gordon Elliott's got a huge army of horses, and he'll be right up there. But who knows what else he's got coming through?
Yeah, that's a fair point. This is a division that's just not. It's exciting, and there is a bit of depth to it starting to emerge, but it's wide open. Jeff Banks has gone 3-1 Jonbon for the Champion Chase. I think that's fair. He has wintered as favourite for a Supreme Novice Hurdle and got beat. Wintered as favourite for an Arkle, got beat. Wintered as second favourite for a Champion Chase, got beat. Be careful. Proceed with caution. He'll win the Tingle Creek, but I don't know about the festival. Found a
Jeff's favourite horse, is he?
Say again?
He's probably Jeff's favourite horse by the sound of it with that form.
I'm pretty certain he's off to Barbados with Sir Michael Stout, and the reason Sir Michael Stout's retiring is he's made all this money just laying Jonbon left, right, and centre, having Jeff do it for us. Just there's another wing on the Jeff Banks mansion being installed because of taking on Jonbon so much. Jesus.
Just going back to Founder 50, my worry with this horse is the more pressure that he came under, the more right he jumped.
Yeah. And
that is a worry when our championship races, be them at Leopardstown or be them at Cheltenham, are left-handed.
Yeah.
And you can't give away. I think the race IQ data and the TPD data and all that kind of stuff is great now, learning what you can do what distance you're either gaining or giving away. And I do worry about that horse jumping. Horses jumping. Now, they may find something. He might have a wolf tooth or something like that needs to. But they only jump a certain way because it's hurting them in one way, shape, or form. Not massively so, but there's something that there'll be a reason why that horse jumps right, and I think he's the right place for them to find out about it. But equally, unless he's going to be a Kempton and Sandown specialist, the majority of our Grade 1 races are left-handed, so they've got to get it sorted out.
Yeah, he did it as a novice a couple of times. Now, it was not evident in the Irish Arkle, but he did get beat. But it's worrying that he did it as a young horse, and now he's still doing it in open company. But hopefully it's only a minor thing.
The later in the race, it becomes more pronounced there. The more he comes up, once he comes off the bridle.
Okay. Well, he's 20s with Jeff Banks bet, 20-1 for the Cheltenham Chase. Quilixios is 33s. Guys, this is madness. Jeff wasn't even quoting him last week, so on the back of the Final Furlong podcast, he added him to it and went, I think you're completely wrong here, Kennedy, and goes 33-1. So I've taken it, and if I am wrong, then I lose.
Jeff will be happy.
He'll be delighted. He'll be delighted. But if I'm right, okay.
You lose a sponsor.
All right, let's switch to the hurdlers, shall we? East India Doc, following in his half-brother Burdett Rhodes' hoof prints by winning the JCB Triumph Hurdle Trial, but anything his half-brother can do, he can do better, which bodes well for the Greatwood Hurdle, possibly even further next season, because he wins by 18 lengths. Eased down! This was an extraordinary performance. How good do you think this horse could be?
Very good. In terms of, before we talk about the horse, in terms of the form of this meeting moving forward, it's great. And I think one thing to mention is the form of the October meeting at Cheltenham never goes on throughout the season. You know, is it Valgrad or whatever? You know, the novice hurdler of Dan Skelton's looked ridiculously impressive, and then gets turned over by Podders at this meeting. And you think, how's that? You know, after they were talking about, you know, Supremes and God knows what else after the last one.
He put him in the fighting fifth.
Well, I don't think the form moves from that October meeting. If you just look at winners of that meeting, it's a false analogy for the rest of the season. The November meeting, on the other hand, this is like our start to the season, basically. It's like our Guineas meeting, I suppose. That's when it really starts kicking and going. And in terms of East India Doc, I love the way it ran. My only concern is the trainer says he's got one better.
He was talking about a horse called Lavender Hill Mob. Now, I've heard this kind of rhetoric before. So, oh, by the way, we've got one better. It's normally from a flat trainer who's trying to boost the stallion profile of a horse. It rarely comes from a jumps trainer. Like, there's no advantage to him saying that. There's no resale value. You're not trying to hawk a stallion to someone. You're not trying to sell the progeny of this exciting stallion prospect. He's an ex-Michael Bell horse who was rated 96 on the flat. Lavender Hill Mob's got to go on your Racing Post tracker now.
Well, I don't think you need to go to the tracker because you'll know about it because every media outlet will be talking about it. I've known James for a long, long time. I don't know him well, but I rode against him years and years ago. He's a great guy. He was a good amateur pilot, actually. But how good a form is he in?
That's unbelievable.
This isn't just now. Through the summer on the flat, he was having doubles and trebles at Yarmouth and over their little festival. And what he's got, his percentage strike rate is unbelievable. And he's obviously got a lovely team of horses, and obviously well supported by the Gredleys as well. So his wife has still got the point-to-point and Arab racing. Of course, he was big in as well, and I think that's where she's they've taken half the yard or the backyard, and that's what happens over there underneath his wife's name. But boy, this guy can train. We've known about him. We've known him. There's a good few people like him, I think, out there that given the opportunity they could. But he's massively showing that he can. So, and I don't think, is he still underpriced with his runners? I think you and I are having a conversation. Maybe they're still trying to work him out.
Yeah.
It won't be long before he's going to be, you look down a list and you would go Skelton, Ollie Murphy, James. He's going to start popping up on people's agendas.
Yeah, I was super confident that this horse was going to win at the weekend. And
it was a talking horse for me. I had it from 3 or 4 different well-known people going banker at the weekend.
Yeah, there was a fair bit of work. Now I can understand why people were keen to take him on. He was short enough price, and there's a lot of potential in the field. But just, it's the profile of the trainer as much as it is the profile of the horse. And I have to say, in terms of like being supported, we've had conversations, numerous, you and I have talked about this off air quite a bit, that we've got to do something about trying to attract the really high-class flat horses that used to go jumping, that the horses that Graham Wiley would transfer there, that would go out and buy, the high-class handicappers that would be put over hurdles, and you're not getting those anymore because there's such a demand for them for Hong Kong, Australia, North America, the Middle East. It's very difficult to get them. And yet,
£500,000 we saw only 2 weeks ago, was it? 2 million for
1.2 million for Nikki. Yeah, Lady Bamford's going to sponsor the Triumph Hurdle this year, I think. And so she's very keen to try and win it, and that's one hell of a way to go out and try and win the race. So we'll see more about him later in the season. And Nicky, of course, has won more Triumph Hurdles than anybody in the history of racing, so that's going to be exciting. But the Gredleys have taken, like, this horse was rated 90 on the flat. Burdett Road was obviously a high-class flat horse and still is. He can mix it. And Lavender Hill Mob is rated 96. Like, fair play to the Gredleys for actually really going out of their way to support jumps racing, because the sport badly needs it at this time.
Well, all those horses are worth over £500,000 to the Australians each.
Easily.
So you've got to go, okay, what's the Triumph Hurdle worth to the winner? 100 grand? You know, it's like fair play. They're following their passion.
Yeah.
And that's what it is at the end of the day. This is not industry focused, like you've just said. It's not breeding. It's not ROI. I suppose it's ROI on what you want to do. It's not a monetary ROI. It's like, we want to invest in jump racing, and we've got some very nice horses to do so. And fair play to them. I'm over the moon that they are, you know. So
he's been given a quote of 10-1 from Jeff Banks Bet. In fact, I've just been told 8s. He's cut him to 8s. Now, I think what Josh just said about the fact that Nicky Henderson's got this £1.2 million horse to go jump the German Derby winner. Who knows what Willie Mullins has, and Willie's crushed and dominated the Triumph Hurdle for years. Proceed with caution here, particularly when James Owen is saying, I think I've got one better at home.
Yeah.
Normally, I'd be saying to you, look, the clock is telling you this is a good performance. It's a visually very impressive performance. He's won at Cheltenham already. Burdett Road won this race and then got beaten in a trial by a horse that just made his debut at Christmas. So, yeah, well, and then that horse didn't even make the Triumph Hurdle in Sergino. So just be careful with this. We can get carried away with quotes of 8-1, and you can have people telling you all kinds of different things about, this horse is a machine. I think he's very exciting. I think he is a huge player for the Triumph Hurdle. That's not a race to have a bet in right now, unless you're getting a wild price at 33s. I would rather take 4-1. I'd rather take 3-1 on the day about East India Dock than take 8-1 now, when I just have no idea what other strength and depth is there.
Absolutely. And we used to say, it was sort of like, I suppose back in the 90s, they always used to say, you wouldn't see the Triumph Hurdle winner till after Christmas. You know, and that's just it. You really do need to, I'm 100% with you on this one. As much as we can get on and fall out in equal measure, this one we're definitely getting on.
However, I am going to be taking an Ante-Post bet on this horse because he's one of my horses to follow, and he's now 2 from 2 over hurdles. The Yellow Clay wins the Grade 3 Monksfield Novice Hurdle for Gordon Elliott. He made his debut over 2 mile 6 at Down Royal, drops back to 2 mile 4, made one mistake. If you wanted to be really, really picky, he makes a bad enough mistake, back on the bridle instantly, and won as he liked. This is a proper horse, Josh.
Absolutely. Ballymore bound, you think? Where do you think he's going with this?
Now, he's got Jalan Dideri and he's got Romeo Coolio. If Gordon Elliott is a better novice hurdler,
Romeo Coolio, I'm in the Romeo camp and have been through a close association with the owner. But equally, I was a massive backer of him and backed him big at in the bumper at Cheltenham. Huge disappointment at Punchestown, and at Cheltenham was a weird one. Just so you know, we were like happy days. Backed him 16s down. I think we got him all the way down to sort of 8s. He drifted on the day from like 8s out to, I think he finished 20s or something. I can't remember.
It was close enough. It was 18s at least.
Drifter on the day, and I was sort of like ringing my close friend, going, "What is going on?"
Because he lost the leg.
They couldn't understand it, and he ran an absolute cracker. I think we can write Punchestown off because the winner as well of the Cheltenham bumper, they both ran shockers there. But like I say, you've got this whole amount of riches at the Gordon Elliott and Willie Mullins. Of course you have, but yes, it wouldn't surprise me that he's one of the 4 that lines up alongside Romeo Coolio in terms of the yellow clay in the Ballymore, and it just trying to keep them apart. Can he keep them apart between now and then?
Yeah, it's possible. It's. I can't tell you definitively this horse won't go for the potato race. Maybe he does, but Gordon's never won the potato race. He has won the Ballymore, or is it the Turner's Novice Hurdle this season? I think it is, because I think they were really annoyed about the Chase and they've taken over the sponsorship of the Great. Maybe I'm not supposed to say that. Maybe that was not supposed to come out yet. Oh well, it's the Turner's Novice Hurdle. Spoiler alert, everybody! That's what it's going to be. It's the Gallagher, the one that Kevin Blake once turned into a handicap, because that's what Cheltenham needs. More handicaps. Jesus Christ. This fella, if Gordon Elliott has a better novice hurdler in his yard than this, I'd be shocked. I think this fella will win. He'll win another great. He's going to go for the Laurels of Naas Grade 1 novice hurdle next time out. I think he'll win that. And he won't be 16-1 for Cheltenham on the back of that. And that's what you can get with Jeff Banks for now. And I think that's a bet. I understand there's lots of horses to emerge, and who knows what Willie's got and Nicky, and I think Nicky's got a very nice horse in Kingston Pride, but the yellow clay, 16-1. I thought he was going to be 8s. I couldn't believe when Jeff Banks went 16-1. I was like, what? So I'm taking that. We saw Potter's Charm win on the Friday. You mentioned Valgrand. He actually might end up being a really interesting one for the county hurdle now, and I'd almost push the Skeltons into do one of your special things to get him there for the big handicap at the Cheltenham Festival, please. Whatever it is you have to... Oh, damn. Doesn't he have to... Wait, that won't work. He needs... Is it 5 starts? Do you need to have 5 starts over hurdles now? You do, don't you?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. Which is, so that takes him out of it. So that's no good.
Oh no. Well. Listen. This is Dan. Hold on now. This is Dan Skelton we're talking about. If we can rely on anybody to get a horse to a handicap, hold up. Wait a minute. He's had 4 runs. Dan. My close personal friend, Dan Skelton. Do you remember how I was waxing lyrical about your genius stuff with Langer, Dan? Remember how I wasn't in any way critical at all? I was like, yeah, you go. Anti-establishment. You go do what has to be done. Get this horse to the county hurdle. We are going to have it right off. Get this horse. Get him to the county hurdle, Dan. I
think it was even talked of. To be honest with you, he was asked by, I think, Lydia, or in a show... sort of reviewing Friday. It was over the weekend, and or it might have even been Harry. And Harry said, he's got county written all over him.
Oh, there's no betting. Oh, there is betting. There's betting. Am I genuinely talking about betting on a horse for the county hurdle on the 18th of November? Have I completely lost my mind? Yes, I have. 16-1.
Yeah.
It's the Skeltons in a Cheltenham handicap hurdle. If you want to just give money away, fine. Challenge accepted. Especially the county hurdle. They've got such a great record in that race. Oh, Dan, find a race that he can't possibly win. Get him qualified. And then let him loose. Oh, love it. I love it. And if you haven't already, join Jeff Banks' bet and take his money. Take his cash money and be so happy about it. If you use the promo code FFP500, you're eligible for a 10% refund on net losses up to £500 after your first month of betting. Take Jeff Banks' money and then take the 16-1 about Valgrand for the county hurdle, and we'll see you in Dubai. Josh is going to pay for it. Let's go! Okay. I'm excited about that. Very, very excited about that. We shall move up very briefly on Wingman. He's another one of my horses to follow for the season. I still like him, but he was jumping out quite a bit to the right.
He was. But what I like about this, and you go, oh, hang on a minute, he didn't win too far, 40 coats, second and stuff like that, was the distance back to the third. I think you've got 2 nice horses on your hands there. So look at the form like that and not worry, oh God, he wasn't as impressive as, he was an odds-on favourite and he was pushed out. He was always going to win, but he wasn't impressive. the impressive part is there's way back to the third. So I think the second could be quite nice as well of Henry de Montmez.
Yeah, that 40 Coats is a solid moral for a novice hurdle at the very least. I think they're both nice horses. Shall we talk about the novice chasers? We'll begin with our
your mate Dan had quite a nice one.
Our close personal friend Dan Skelton. You know we love Dan Skelton. We actually do really like Dan. In fairness, I really didn't like the whole Langer Dan stuff. I really didn't. I can't lie about that. It really didn't sit well with me. But I am anti-establishment, and what a way to get one over on the establishment. Just like he's he's a Cheltenham Festival winner who's 10-1, then 40-1. Then 66-1, then 66-1. Oh no, he's got ulcers. Oh yeah, the ulcers. Suddenly he's 13-2, back off the same handicap mark for the same race he won the year before, and he goes and wins.
Okay, we need another one of those little bit of musical interludes, and it's called "Let It Go" from the film Frozen.
See, I think if we do that, the video instantly becomes demonetized. Damn you, Disney!
What did Langer Dan do after that? That was the A-tree run was probably more eye-opening than...
He should have been given that race, by the way. And I was on Imperia Pass, but he should have been given that race. All right, Lodesod. So he was very good as a hurdler. He ran 2 massive races in the Betfair hurdle and also in the county hurdle as well, where... I mean, it's Willie Mullins with absurd. It was just absurd scenes. I thought Harry's reaction straight after the race as he's pulling up was like, my God, we've done everything. And that pesky Willie Mullins is here to stop us. But they said he was going to be better over fences. And it looks like he very much is.
How good is he at getting from one side of the fence to another? He's not this sort of impressive standoff, but you watch, he hurdles like a human hurdler. Like you want to get back to the ground and be running as fast as possible. I think he's very, very quick. He's clever when he's short. He wastes no time in the air whatsoever. And I know that's a phrase that's used quite a lot, but this horse doesn't. He wants to get his feet back on the ground and running again. And watch this again and watch the running. So he hits the front coming to last. And then Harry doesn't do anything on him. And watch the distance from where he jumps the last to the other horses behind him to where he ends up winning 11 lengths. And he's just sat. And Harry's just gone, there's an inch of rain. And that's all he's gone and done. And made these decent horses look like platers. Yeah. Really like it.
It was a hugely impressive performance from him. How high do you think he can go in the novice chasing ranks? And is he the leading British contender for the Arkle as things stand?
Currently. Because listen, this is the start of the fun part of the season, isn't it? I mean, look at the next few weeks. We go Haydock. We then go to the Coral Cup and Newbury. We then go on to Ascot. We're then back at Cheltenham. It's a magnificent period. I love this period for jump racing. Everyone goes, oh, it's all about the Cheltenham Festival. No, this is the great part of it here. So I'd like to answer that question in 4 weeks' time. But as we sit here today, from what we have seen, the answer is yes of the horses that we've seen.
We're going to see Sergino jumping fences, which I'm slightly surprised at, by the way. Fair play, Nicky Henderson, for going doing it. He's only a 5-year-old. We still don't know where Ballyburn is going. Maybe Willie has announced it, but we shall see. Entries for the Morgiana are out this weekend. We'll talk briefly about the upcoming weekend's racing towards the end of the show. But I'd like to see him go chasing. We'll see what happens there. The Imperia Pass is going chasing. There's so many different horses to be excited about. Jeff Banks goes 10s about Lodesod for the Arkle, if you are that way inclined. He's going 10-1 about Slade Steele, who was second on his chase debut to Better Days Ahead from Gordon Elliott's yard, who was given a great ride from Jack Kennedy on the front end. Shout out to Emma Nagel. I'm pretty sure her father bred the horse. I know that Emma certainly was involved in the early development of that horse, so that's going to be a great kick for her. Cheltenham Festival winner already. He was really good in the Martin Pipe, and he claims the scalp of the Supreme Novice Hurdle winner, Slade Steele. I actually think Slade Steele is the more interesting of the two. I think he'll win next time out, and I do think he's still a very interesting contender for the Arkle. You're getting 10-1 now about him, and he was really, really good in the Supreme. But Better Days Ahead was a very, very strong performance from him. Worth bearing in mind, Josh, that last year American Mike won this, beating Fact to File.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was just going to ask, What's Jeff's sign-up offer? Did you say?
If you use the promo code FFP500, you can get 10% back on any net losses after your first month of betting, up to £500.
So there's no free bet is there a free bet when you sign up? Because I would say I'd be going, or a match bet. I would actually, the 10-1 for Load of Sud for the Arkle. I think that's a bet to nothing, if you know what I mean. I really like that horse, and I think he's won. You know, when you were just talking a minute ago, you're like, I'd rather take 3-1 when we get there on the day, whatever it was, Burnett Road or whatever horse we were talking about. With him, I'd be quite happy to take a punt at 10s on him.
Even now?
With my free bet, it's a free bet as in, if it was a match bet, so you said, okay, I'll match your first bet up to 50 quid, I'd be quite happy to have 50 quid on him at 10-1 with a match bet with another 50 quid on him.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not sure what the rules are anymore, because it's just become ridiculous, really. But if Jeff is allowed to give away a free bet, then we'll try and do that coming up to Christmas.
Cool.
Maybe for the Christmas quiz or something like that. And obviously, every competition you enter, you win. But so we're going to have to just eliminate you from that.
I will 100%, if that's allowed, and I'm pretty sure Jeffrey will be willing to do it. It will be a charity bet.
Okay.
So I'll put 50 quid in. If he can lay me another 50 quid at 10s, and we'll have that. So we've got 100 quid at 10-1 in total on that for the Arkle, and the winnings will go to racing welfare. All right, that's what we'll do.
All right. Well, Jeff has heard that, and so has the odds compiler team, and they've already cut him to 5s. Never mind charity here, mate. Ain't about charity, it's about the bottom line. You're getting 10-1 about Load of Sud for the Arkle.
He's now available at 14s.
10-1 is the bet about Load of Sud for the Arkle. Jeff has heard that, and Jeff will act accordingly. I have no doubt.
Excellent. Well, I've got Jeff's details because he used to beat me all the time at golf, so I'll just do my usual transfer to him. It's absolutely fine.
Excellent. Okay, excellent stuff. Down memory lane made a winning dip, drifted considerably in the betting, but jumped impeccably. So much so that there was nothing they could do except go away. But no, it's a brilliant performance from Down Memory Lane. Look, this is a very exciting horse. I understand why he drifted. The last time you saw him on a racecourse was 11 months ago, and he completely, spectacularly blew out when he was really strongly fancied for the Grade 1 Novice Hurdle. But the ground was horrible that day. The horse who has gone on to become, at one time, the most expensive horse bought at public auction, Caldwell Potter, is the one who won it. But he was very strong in the betting for that race. And this is more like it. Maybe the feeling was he was going to need his first run. He was taking on King of Kingsfield, a Grade 1 Novice Hurdler, or at least Grade 1 class, Nürburgring, a Galway Hurdle winner, and he has eviscerated them.
I really like this horse. When he got beat, when you were just alluding to, I'm sure something was wrong. It was too bad to be true. So whether horses can burst and you don't see it, they can internally burst just small. It doesn't, or it might have had an ulcer. There was something. It wasn't the running of that. Of Down Memory Lane. I loved the way it travelled, and I loved the way it jumped. He just looked like he was enjoying himself, didn't he? He thought, this is great fun, isn't it? So that's what stood out for me at the weekend. Where they go and what they do with him now. I think they've got all sorts of different options, to be honest with you. He's very professional for the amount of experience that he's got, is what I'm trying to say. I
think this is a proper horse. This is another really exciting one for Gordon. And I know it's early in the season. Willie's horses aren't firing just quite yet. You can get a little bit overexcited. This is a good horse. He mightn't win the Arkle, but he's going to do really well. And
he won't, because Load of Sud's going to win the Arkle, so it's fine. But obviously could come second. Yeah,
could be a decent second to him. Yeah, there's Mark Walsh cruising on a horse in a chase is some sight.
Yeah.
He's mustard, that fella. Absolutely mustard. He's one of the best jockeys in the business. Let's touch on the Unibet Greatwood Hurdle, shall we? It went to Burnett Road. So all the money was coming for Dysart Enos, for Fergal O'Brien. She's run an absolute blinder. I think that there might be an attitude from some people that she's been exposed. She's been beaten by Burnett Road, who was running off a mark of 133. Be Aware, who's clearly a very talented horse for the Skeltons, off 130. And the three of them, the three horses that are dominant in the market, are clear of Tintin, who's another Fergal O'Brien horse, rated 126, which means I'm hoping the BHA handicapper can't go overboard. We're recording on Monday, so we don't know what the ratings are going to be just yet, because Dysodinos could easily end up in another handicap and still go and win. And I'm pretty certain she will be a Grade 1 winner before now in the end of the season. But to begin with Burdett Road, is he champion hurdle material?
As we sit here today, yes. I think he is. He deserves to take his place. Can I see him winning a champion hurdle? Probably not. I love the way this horse has matured mentally. He was a young upstart, hothead, God knows what else to start now. And now he's thoroughly professional. I love the way that Harry gets on with him and gives him the confidence to, you can still be a bit big-headed. I find him, he's a little bit of a big-headed horse. He's, I just like him. I've followed his journey because of James and stuff like that as well. But he's matured into a lovely, lovely horse. But I thought this race at the weekend, I'm glad these three are at the top. I think they're all going to be winning graded races within 12 months, if not sooner. Dysodinos, I know very well because I was obviously very closely associated to Queen's Gamble when she was at Oliver's, and obviously she's at Harry Durham's now. And when she, after winning the listed the listed bumper at Cheltenham, she then went to Market Raisin for a listed race and got beat by this Furlong O'Brien thing. We're like, what's going on? This is not to plan. And it turned out to be Dysodinos, which isn't too bad nowadays. But at the time, we were gutted. And but anyway, no longer, and was sort of our nemesis throughout the novice career of Queen's Gamble and the bumper career. But if you watch the way it travelled, I mean, Johnny Burke had to change his hands twice coming down the hill, not to make the horse go quicker, to get a firmer grip on its bit, because it was running away with him. Hadn't run for a good while. I think it was over 200 plus days that it hadn't run for. Just got, it's got rid of cobwebs, far too keen, and you'll see a completely different horse. Imagine that back against its own sex. That's, I think they're going to have to find a real good one to get close to this when it comes to the festival in the mare division. I don't think you'll see this. Well, listen, it can easily go and win a lovely big handicap, a nice Ascot one for 100 grand. There seem to be these ones that pop up. But she's classy. She's hard. She didn't stop when she was asked the question there at all. And she'd run keen. We see plenty that run keen and then they're fine as they kick on for a furlong and then stop. She didn't stop. Burdett Road was impressive. And then, of course, Be Aware, it was only his fifth run. And I was mentioning to you off air that I was at Newbury, covering Newbury. It was when the first Sky had covered Newbury in January this year. And there was me, Mick Fitzgerald, and Alex Hammond. And our sort of presentation place was just outside the weighing room. And Harry came out, and I said to him, "What do you fancy this?" Because we'd seen this really imposing grey, never running a bumper, walking around the paddock. And he said he's raw, but he's lovely. And we were like, "All right." And so Harry jumped him off. You can watch the race again and sort of giving him an educational run. So he's trying, but he's giving him an educational run. He's wants him to come on, turned into the straight, puts him into the race after he's got him there and got him settled and got him jumping. And then you can see there's a light bulb moment where this horse starts passing one, passing two, and then goes on and wins. And when we talked to Harry prior to that, I don't think they thought he was going to win. They thought he was probably going to be a bit too green. That's why you've got to get the experience up. But then they've got something nice else. Now, he hasn't won in 4 starts since, but he's just come second in the Greatwood, Yeah. He is maturing. He's going to be a fantastic... They're looking after this horse, and he's going to be I don't think they're that worried by handicap marks. He's going to be a graded performer, be it over hurdles or be it over fences in years to come.
Yeah, he's an exciting horse. Irabeco Lord won this race a year ago and then went up £8. You can't put Dysodinos up £8 for finishing third.
No, not at all. No.
So there should be still a nice handicap for her to win.
It's not like hardened handicapper and all this stuff. Yes, you'll probably go and win. If she'd have won on Saturday, you wouldn't have seen her in a handicap again. And she wasn't far off winning first time up. She'll go and win it. She'll go and win a handicap, off 135 or whatever she goes up to, and or they'll just go down the listed. You've got to think of breeding as well. So she's a listed winner of a bumper. You want her to be listed and graded winners, just for breeding ability. So we shall see. I like all three. I'm just really glad that form's worked out for all three. And if you ran this race again at the end of the season, those three would probably come the first three. I couldn't tell you who would be 1, 2, and 3 though.
Well, that's the difficult thing with her is she's missed out on all those graded races last year because Fergal didn't want her picking up a penalty. And thankfully, they've now changed the rules, so everybody will race off level weights in the Mares Novice Hurdle this season. But that really should have been in place last year, and if it was, she would have been able to go and run in the grade 3s and the grade 2s. And it's ludicrous that you win a grade 2 and then carry a grade 2 penalty in a grade 2. What nonsense that was. Anyway, do you really now go and blow a mark like that in a listed race or in a grade 3? I don't think so. And I'm trying to think
would you blow the mark?
That's the other question. Because there's an obvious race for her. I think you win a Betfair Hurdle with her. But the problem is you've got to wait until February. And do you really wait with a horse of her caliber until then? And then
she's not over-raced. She's not over-raced, though. I know they've waited and various things, but she's not one you can go to the well with that often. She's a 4 runs a season type of filling. We should see. She's in the right place. Fergal knows what he's got, and I really do rate Fergal.
Oh, he's class.
People don't realise how good he is with mares. He's very, very good with them.
Yeah. They will find a very valuable handicap to win with her, and I think she'll do it. I'm pretty certain she will. On the basis of that run, she's going to improve second start of the season as well. Look, wherever they go with her, she's going to be a big, big player. But maybe just don't go for a grade 2 just yet. Maybe just don't, Fergal. Unless it's going to be like a really small field race and they can't go up too much for doing it. Anyway, either way, excited to see what she can do. The big chase, the Petty Power Chase, goes to Il Ridotto. Man, I spent so long, ridiculously long amount of time previewing this race. And he was nearly one of the first I was discounting. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I completely lost my mind, and in Excelsis Deo was tumbled out of the race pretty early on. But second run of the season, eligible to improve, good Cheltenham record.
Second time after a win up.
That's the key line, though. That's what you said to me before we came on air today. That was the big angle with him, and turns out maybe he's definitely a horse I underestimated, but maybe I badly underestimated him.
Well, bless him. It's like trying to find an athlete that's got asthma and hasn't got an inhaler, and all of a sudden they can breathe. Now will the real Il Ridotto please stand up? And he did on Saturday. I think Freddie Ginger quite rightly got the plaudits. It's lovely to see a teenager doing well, coming through, speaks well to the media. Tough backstory, obviously with his mum, but related to Joe, and it's just and is now second jockey, of course, to the all-powerful Nichols team. So he's not going to want for firepower as he goes, which I know we'll touch on later. There is an element to the David Power Jockey Cup, which is for conditionals. And obviously he's set his stall out as well to be a conditional jockey champion. So lovely to see, but let's not forget the horse. I thought it was a great performance, and I'll either be proved completely wrong and it was a one-shot wonder, but I think you'll see a far better horse moving forward, or more consistent horse moving forward. Now, hopefully, the breeding up has worked.
Yeah, you'd like to think he's going to build on this. It's a great ride from Freddie Ginger, and well done to him. And his claim was obviously invaluable here as well, so that's something else to bear in mind. I thought the most interesting runner in the race, because there's a few of these are just quite exposed, and you know that Galal can't win a Ryanair, for example. He's just not good enough.
Yeah, I backed Galal. I thought he was. I couldn't have Ginny's the favourite, but Galal was somehow backed at double figure prices. Sort of a week out he was 12s, and then was backed in during the week. And And he's just such an in-between, top of the handicap, graded, and Jamie, he can go anywhere with him, but he'll find and he will win his races, but he's just going to be a tough one to place throughout the season.
Well, he couldn't not place. He was the ultimate scumbag each way bet in the race.
Yeah.
But he was always going to be vulnerable to an improver. If you told me Il Rodotto was going to be in the improver, I'd have thought you were mad. But the horse that I would like to take out of this race, and he was interesting, I had to really stop myself from backing him. I almost did, which is a bloody annoyance because he's then placed Madara. Now, I don't know why this horse isn't with Sophie Leach anymore. She did brilliantly with him. He goes to Kieran Burke for one run, now with Dan Skelton, improves on his second start of the season. He will improve for being with Dan as well. And this is a horse who's just got massive win. Big handicap somewhere written all over him.
Yeah, he's in the right place. And he's only 5. Was he beaten 7 3/4 lengths? He wasn't far away, was he? So
no.
I'm not sure of why the Drews have moved him around. They've obviously got plenty of horses at the Nicholses and stuff like that, but unsure. But he ran a massive race at a big price.
The only British winner at the Dublin Racing Festival is now in the hands of Dan Skelton. This fella should be in your tracker, and we should be all trying to work out where are they going to Grand Annual, maybe 2.5 mile. There's going to be a nice handicap chase that this fella will win, and it's just a matter of us trying to work out which race is the right one for him. But he will do very, very well.
Well, throwing another song in there, When Will I See You Again? Because they've obviously got him off a nice handicap mark here.
Yeah.
And do you just cover him up and say, tell you what, put your feet up for Christmas and we'll see you in the new year?
Well, you've hit on it, though. The fact that he's only 5, who knows how much improvement there is to come.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very exciting horse.
Just to finish, Betfair Chase this weekend. Love it. I have to say it's one of my finest achievements, I hope, within this sport of being the founder of the of the Betfair Chase, should I say.
I did not know this. You were the man who came up with it.
We identified, I say we, it was a tiny team of us at Betfair at the time. And best mate was running around in the Peterborough Chase over 2 mile 4 around the wrong way round and all this kind of stuff. And I worked with Adam Waterworth, who is now obviously the Goodwood Supremo, was then the Haydock Supremo, and said, let's look if we can get a grade 1. I'll fund it over a period of time in terms of Betfair's backing. And as we sit here now, it is still rocking and rolling. And obviously you've got grade dawning, but I quite like Hewitt to sign off the shark before his holiday in style on decent ground. Off we go. I love that horse. I think he's great. The horse itself and the story behind it is something. The rags to riches, lads, €800. Every time that horse runs, it brings positive news to broader than the Racing Post and our own industry media. So here's hoping that. One, the Betfair Chase continues for another 20 years. I'm pretty sure it will, because I think this is the 20th. It may well be the 20th running of the Betfair Chase. We've had amazing horses like Kicking King and Corso Star winning the Betfair Million, of course, that we attached to it, all the way down to lovely horses with Snoopy Loopy and Seamus Durack for the Dogs. Winning it 1 year, and obviously Bristol Demai and stuff like that over the years. So I think it's how it sits. I hope you get a bit of a better feel. Sometimes it's an absolute bog mud fest. They need to water by the looks of things. It's good ground as we speak at the moment. They've got 10 mils and frost forecast throughout the week, but light frost. I don't think there's any threat to the meeting, but equally it's going to be a decent ground race. I hope Hewitt will stand up, and it'll be Hewitt Grey Dawning. Will Hoist Senior go there on good ground? We'll wait to see.
Okay, we're going to preview it for you on Thursday's Final Furlong podcast. I'm looking forward to doing that. Wouldn't it be something, as somebody who is very much anti-establishment, wouldn't it be just magic if Shark Handlin won the Betfair Chase before he signs off, as Josh said eloquently there, for a couple of months of a holiday? Go on there, Shark. Go on there, Hewitt. Some story if he goes and does it. I wonder, is his wife getting the license? Is that happening? Because we want to see that horse coming back to defend his King George crown.
When a trainer loses their license, a male trainer, you generally get his wife to take the license. It's happened from the Burks to it wasn't his wife, but the Elsie Gordon Elliott had a female replacement.
Tony Martin's sister.
Yes.
Who was asked by Sally Ann Grassick, and you're the trainer now. She said, I just stay behind the scenes. Right. And on that bombshell, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Final Furlong podcast. I very much hope you've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed Josh's company on the show. His insight is invaluable. He's got a great personality. I really enjoy listening to Josh. His insight on Sky is fantastic, but I think we really get the best out of you on this show. You're happy to just tell it like it is, and I very much appreciate that and really enjoyed listening to you today as well. Please God, we'll talk to you again very, very soon on the Final Furlong podcast. If you haven't liked this video already, please do on the YouTube channel. Likes and shares on social media are much appreciated as well from Josh and me. We will talk to you again very, very soon on the Final Furlong podcast. Look after yourself and each other. God bless.
The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet and buy BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Our listeners get 10% off your first month. So give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/FURLONG.